Hi everyone, and welcome to Ask Christa, the place where you can ask questions about how to work through business challenges and workplace issues. I'm Christa Dhimo, and today's listener question is one we've all grappled with. It's about being asked to do more with less. Here it is. I'm a first-time manager. I've been managing my team for 3 years now, and each year I'm asked to do more with less, and that's a direct quote. I feel like my company has developed a habit to reduce time and resources so much that it's becoming difficult to do my job well. I'm a manager with 10% of my job allocated to management issues, but I'm also a subject matter expert and serve as an individual contributor on a few teams. I'm getting tired, and I'm watching my employees show sign of burnout. I'm showing signs of burnout too. What's worse is that leadership won't update some of our tools that would help us actually do more. It feels like they keep taking while wanting more. How do we do more with less? Okay, I'll say it. Doing more with less is a dumb phrase. The original sentiment had merit and was about reducing waste while increasing productivity because back in the day when you reduced waste, it was to increase productivity, and it was typically done in these very large legacy organizations that needed big turnarounds with the introduction of new technologies. And as new technologies poured into a corporate setting, such as word processors and even voicemail, it became easier to collaborate, find solutions, and in fact, do more with less. Less process, fewer cumbersome steps, shorter or no waiting times. But in order to take advantage of technology and doing more with less, companies made investments. They even trained their workforce in ways to think more efficiently, collaborate more effectively, and consider ways of doing things better by utilizing the very resources that could enable a more with less operation. But these days, doing more with less is often related more to a minimal investment of operations and less to a strategic investment where a company finds large sweeps of what can be reduced or eliminated, thus freeing capacity so employees can do more. These days, when companies say do more with less, it's often related to austerity measures, leading to reduced investment returned to the business while requiring the business to maintain or increase productivity. And sure, you could do that short term if an unpredicted risk has occurred, a storm that damaged a production plant or strategies that didn't turn out as expected. When unexpected events occur that put the strategic plan and overall business at risk, you should take austerity measures and hold on spending where possible so you can recover with as little impact to your customers as possible. Before we go further, let's talk about the phrase austerity measures. According to the Cambridge Dictionary, austerity means the condition of living without unnecessary things and without comfort, with limited money or goods. Taking it a step further, Investopedia has a great article that defines and describes austerity as it relates to a government, which used to be the primary context of the term austerity and the phrase austerity measures. The article focuses on how austerity is a set of economic policies that a government implements in order to control public sector debt, where the goal is to improve a government's financial health. Full disclosure, if you know me, you know I recommend Investopedia as a great learning tool a lot because it includes reviewers and fact checkers and also stays up to date. I'll have the references for the Cambridge Dictionary and Investopedia in the show notes. At any rate, the concept of austerity is to reduce what you have and what you get to the bare minimum. So you could save where possible while recovering from a financial hardship. The while recovering piece is intended to be a specific amount of time though, not forever. What I see happen more often than not is organizations taking austerity measures as part of an ongoing strategy. It becomes a way of life. And when austerity is a way of life, you enter into a scarcity mindset, always questioning whether you need an investment. Again, good in a short time frame while recovering and resetting, not great long term. Over time, that mindset reshapes the thinking and behavior of your employees not to save, but to never spend. And there's a difference. They begin to chronically conserve with everything. In the beginning, they could pull together with a mission-driven mindset to help the company out of the high-risk situation, recover, reset, then rebuild and gain a new momentum. At that point, the austerity measures should go away so you can start reinvesting, innovating, taking your company to the next level and bragging about how you recovered from unpredicted events or events that were predicted and your risk plan, which included austerity measures, worked. But when austerity is long-term, you erode the success factors you need for your business to thrive. If you only ever have understaffed teams that are over capacity, it leads to burnout, mistakes, and a poor leveling of resources. If you continue using old technology well past the efficiency mark, because an upgrade continues to be cut from the budget, which most times costs more money long-term to keep up with than necessary, or in effect creating waste, then you have equipment that's no longer fit for use. And you have a lot of waste going in, just trying to move it along. There's no big capital investments taking place. And this creates an expense line to offer smaller investments that bobby pin and paperclip fix the equipment enough to work, but not enough to actually do better work. Equipment also continues to depreciate on your income statement with accumulations on your balance sheets. And if you manufacture in a highly regulated industry, it's just a matter of a year or two when you receive a citation on the fitness or lack of for your equipment. In all of those cases, continuing the less on investment while keeping expected productivity at the same level or asking for more becomes problematic, and you can see why. So to the leaders out there, be careful what you wish for. If doing more with less becomes chronic, your employees will adapt, just as you hope they will. And if you think that's a good thing, it tells me you're only thinking about the less part, without thinking through what less means, while hoping your employees somehow do more with less forever. What really happens with long-term austerity measures is that as part of adapting and as part of conserving, your employees will create habits related to tinkering on what is old to keep it running instead of innovating something new. They will adjust their energy levels and work quality to protect themselves from burnout instead of having the energy related for free thinking while imagining bigger and better and bolder ways of working. Chronic austerity measures with no end in sight creates a scarcity mindset. And those who have adapted to learn how to do without, they haven't left for greener pastures where they can grow and develop and do better work with an actual budget. They're learning how to do without, and that rarely allows for big thinking. They've adapted to keeping the lights on, maintaining status quo, and then reducing that. So again, be careful with a do more with less phrase. It should be specific to a need or a mission, short term, with a timeline. Rationale should be shared and an austerity plan tracked so that employees shift to a scarcity mindset, a conservation mindset, but they don't fall into a habit of only working with less. Over time, if you do that, you will get less. By the way, your reputation as an employer will suffer too. Who wants to work in a company where there's little or no investment that's needed while being expected to do more? Glassdoor, Indeed, everyone knows the companies that live in a chronic austerity environment with an expectation to do more with less. Now, for this listener and perhaps many others in this scenario, the question really was, how do you do it? What do you do? First, it's okay to philosophically disagree with the chronic ask of doing more with less. So as an employee, take a step back and gain some perspective. You may need help to do that, so think about who you can talk to outside of your organization so you can get some help with the perspective. Some fresh ears and fresh eyes will help you identify and loosen the grip of the habits you've formed at your workplace. It's important to open your mind out of scarcity, out of hearing do more with less, and out of taking the do more with less as the only way to work. There are companies that invest a lot back into their organizations, even while resetting after a recovery. It should be smart spending, but employees shouldn't have to work long term without the right tools to do their jobs. We're in an environment where they believe a company is out of compliance because the equipment is no longer fit for purpose. Or without good benefits, or feeling that they can ever spend money, even on their own development that will benefit the company because of a scarcity mindset that's resulting from chronic austerity measures. Next, look objectively at your team and the team you're in. Perhaps a department too. If you've been habitually constrained, you may now be at a loss for how to continue squeezing juice out of something that you feel has no juice left to give. Is that the case? Do you have nothing left to give by way of doing more with less? When it comes to reducing or eliminating wasteful processes, you do hit an inflection point where there's nothing left to reduce or eliminate without creating risk, or without creating ways to change how the work is done overall. If you believe that's where you are, it's time to show that with evidence to your manager. I'm going to include a couple of resources for lean practices that will help you with that. It'll be in the show notes. From there, ask when the austerity measures will wind down and when the organization will begin to invest such that staffing levels are at the right capacity and tools are working properly. Whatever the chronic austerity measures are, the do more with less, when is that going to stop? A lot of times that culture erodes such that believing more isn't possible without having more. It might be time to build that case. Last, be honest with yourself and think about what's best for you. If you determine you've hit the point where you simply cannot do more with less, you are still being asked to do this. And I've worked in a place that operated like that. I've worked in a couple of them. We all know that ultimately it's the customer that suffers. And if you feel you can no longer thrive in that environment, then it's time to move on. I'm going to wrap up my thoughts with this. Successful companies do not say year over year that everyone needs to do more with less. That is not a strategy. It's a recipe for a lot of hurt as you starve your business's ability to grow and place the burden of efficiency squarely and singularly on those doing the work. Sooner or later, the engines will slow and then stall. And you'll either fold up or you'll need to raise a lot of cash to reset your business properly from a chronic lack of investment to keep it going. If you cannot properly invest in your business, you have a bad business model or a bad strategy or both, and it's time to reset. Overall, it's smart to periodically examine how you work and determine how you can tighten it up. And it's smart to be specific and selective about where you invest your time, energy, and money. There are a lot of advances in technology and processes that enable us to produce more while using fewer resources. That's the right way of doing more with less. Personally, I think we should just stop saying that completely. Let's stop talking about doing more with less. Let's instead talk about doing our best every day, which includes eliminating anything in the way of that and focusing on the best possible outcome for our clients and our customers. Okay, for your resources, I've included the Cambridge Dictionary austerity definition, and I've included the Investopedia article I mentioned earlier. That article is written by Adam Hayes, updated in June 2023, reviewed by Eric Estevez, and fact-checked by Yerlid Perez. It's called Understanding Austerity, Type of Austerity Measures, and Examples. I've also included 2 resources related to lean principles. The first will introduce you to the lean philosophy of reducing or eliminating waste to achieve the best results for your customers, which is, frankly, what makes a business successful. Do all that and running your business well based on a solid business plan and the stewardship of an effective board, but I digress. Lean is doing more with less so that you can provide the best value to your customer. And this is really where we should start. And if there is an opportunity to do that more with less for the value of the customer, you should do it. And if by doing more with less then suffers your customer and your customer does not get the same value, then you shouldn't be doing it. That's the foundation of lean. The article also sets a foundation for continually improving and staying fresh with new thinking as a reflection of lean. So you'll see some of that in the article. It's from Forbes, and I selected it instead of a resource specifically on lean principles because I want you to learn more about the business value of doing any kind of waste reduction the right way. You can look up lean principles and see dozens of organizations talking about the 5 principles, creating pull, value stream mapping, and so on. But from now on, when you hear someone say, do more with less, I want you to purify that terrible phrase and put it in the context of lean philosophy. The article was written by Austerity, and it's called Lean Philosophy, the Way of Business That Gave Rise to Industry Giants. It was published in January 2021 and updated in April of 2022. It'll bring you through the basics of lean principles and how they apply to a business. It highlights 2 great outcomes from lean, one related to company culture and one related to leadership. And the article offers examples too. It's short, very well written, and underscores what do more with less is supposed to be and do for organizations. The second lean resource is about downtime, which is the acronym for the 8 common wastes that lean addresses. And once you know them, you can start addressing ways to reduce or eliminate wastes immediately, even if you aren't a lean expert or have never even heard of lean principles. There are common sense items, and you can even use the principles in your home. How about that packed closet that no longer has any space in it? The article is from Leanscape, written by Reagan Panel in January 2025, and offers just the right level of information to learn about downtime. Again, the 8 common wastes. It stands for defects, overproduction, waiting, non-utilized talent, which, yes, is wasteful. If you have talent and you are not properly utilizing them, you are creating waste for your company. Transportation, inventory, motion, and excess processing. And a quick note on that talent piece. The waste you're creating is because you have value in your organization that you are not properly tapping into. That's what lean is about. Lean is not about saying people are obsolete. Lean is about saying how can you utilize your people to the best of their capabilities so that you can provide the best value to your customers. Since doing more with less often targets hiring plans where teams become understaffed and well over their capacity, I included a second article from Forbes called 20 Strategies to Support Your Team When the Company is Understaffed. It's from Forbes HR panel. It's worth the read. And it's a wrap for episode 22. If you're interested in submitting your question, go to my show's website, askchrista.com. That's Christa with a CH, and click on the Submit a Question tab. I've been addressing questions about 6 weeks after they're submitted based on my queue. So if you send me a question, be on the lookout for your episode. And while you're on my site, look at other episodes based on a category of interest. If you haven't already, click on the big blue follow button and sign up for my weekly newsletter called More Answers. I issue a new letter every Sunday night with a brief work theme, some additional insights, and a link to something that will make you laugh. You can see all of my newsletters on the blog section of my site too. I appreciate your support. Thank you. And remember, if you have a business challenge or workplace issue, ask Christa.